unnatural, like thoughts that belonged to someone else. Someone smarter. Orlando closed the lid on his computer. Tina would be making dinner by now, or wrestling the kids into their high chairs. He didn't want to disappoint her. He'd done too much of that already. Go home. Explain it to her once more. Make her understand. Swiveling to a small statue of Buddha perched on a bookcase, he pressed both hands together and bowed his head 3 times. It was a ritual more than anything, an almost forgotten part of his Korean-American heritage passed down from grandparents who had immigrated to America decades ago. He snatched the keys from his desk and hurried through the office door. Rows of overhead lights began to switch off, transitioning the once busy factory into a shadowy crypt. Tina wasn't taking any of this very well. Orlando had always been a joker, weaving elaborate, almost believable stories with a perfectly straight face, until the target of his ruse finally succumbed. Then he'd burst into uncontrolled laughter. Some people played along, some didn't. Tina did when they first met, but not anymore. She was tired of the game, she'd told him. Faking mental illness wasn't funny. The official diagnosis hadn't helped. Sure, the doctors had convinced Tina he wasn't faking it, but how was a schizophrenic husband any better than a bad joke? She'd cried herself to sleep that night. Orlando hurried down a metal stairway to the factory floor. Massive fabrication machines that only an hour before had been churning out plastic bottles by the thousands now stood idle. Creaking metal echoed eerily across the empty space. He slipped between 2 of the giant machines toward an exit on the far side. A band of outlaw mice collecting scraps that had fallen from lunch pails scattered to their hiding places. A sound stopped him cold. A repetitive, clicking sound, like a thumb running along the teeth of a comb. The pitch varied in a complicated way, almost as if the comb were trying to sing its clicks. It wasn't the mice. The voices were back. Orlando's head twisted left and right, his eyes wide. A chill ran down his neck. The ratcheting sound continued, louder and with alternating highs and lows in frequency. The doctors had assured him it was all in his head, but it seemed to come from outside, as real as any sound. His heart raced. Was it a vibration coming from one of the machines not completely shut down? An overhead fan? He could try to assign a sensible explanation. It wouldn't matter. He already knew the sound wasn't coming from an unattended machine. It was a voice, and not a human voice, but it was a voice. How he'd come to this revelation wasn't clear, but it was a fact known as confidently as his home address or his wife's name. Someone, or something, was speaking to him. Orlando sprinted the rest of the way to the exit, crashed through the door, and ran outside across a darkening parking lot. He jumped into a Toyota, the last remaining car in the lot, slammed and locked the door. Fumbling to get the car in gear, he punched the accelerator to the floor and sped off. The noise of the engine helped to mask the sounds, but the car only made him feel more vulnerable. Home would be safer. The voices had never found him there. Maybe it was Tina's presence that warded them off. She'd found an alternative treatment she wanted him to try. Not just endless therapy or prescription drugs, but a research facility that specialized in